For more than half a century, her revolutionary ideas have sparked both hope and controversy. Lilia Luciano is in conversation with Angela Davis.
After more than 50 years, she's still instantly recognizable worldwide as the face of revolution.
How does the woman, Professor Angela Davis, relate to those posters?
I felt really uncomfortable, and that is because I think I was expecting to find myself in those images.
But at the age of 78, Angela Davis has come to terms with her image.
Now I look at them and I see all of the millions of people who came together to participate in a struggle.
Racism is indeed the key problem faced by the people of the country, and the threat of fascism is growing.
For half a century, Angela Davis has been sounding alarms.
There is a proliferation of police assaults on the Black community all over the country.
Alarms that are still going off today.
Those who still defend the supremacy of white male heteropatriarchy had better watch out.
Of course, I love being a revolutionary and I love being radical. It's important to be radical.
The roots of that radicalism can be traced to her upbringing in Birmingham, Alabama.
I grew up in a world that was entirely organized according to the dictates of white supremacy.
I understand you grew up in a street that was known as Dynamite Hill because of the amount of terrorist bombings when Black families moved into that community.
My very first memories are the sounds of dynamite, and then also the fear of watching my father bring his gun out when we thought that the Ku Klux Klan might be assaulting our home.
Miss Davis was a Phi Beta Kappa at Brandeis University in Boston. She did graduate work in Germany and San Diego.
What does Lenin mean when he talks about the socialization of production?
By the age of 26, Davis was an assistant professor of philosophy at UCLA. She had joined the Black Panther Party and the Communist Party, and that made her a target of California Governor Ronald Reagan.
When the Regents finally decided to fire me, I said that it was obvious that there was racism involved.
The very first press conference I held in the immediate aftermath of my firing at UCLA, I think my eyes were wide open and my knees were shaking under the table. And today people look at that and they say, oh, you were so much more militant then. And I said, no, I was just afraid.
Gunfire came from automatic rifles, shotguns, and pistols.
A year later, a bloody courthouse siege brought her worldwide attention, though she wasn't even there. An attempt to free the so-called Soledad brothers, a group of inmates accused of killing a prison guard, ended in a shootout.
When it was over, Judge Haley was dead. 2 of the inmates were dead.
The guns used in the attack were traced to Davis. She said she had bought them for her security team after getting death threats. And she went into hiding.
The FBI has put Black militant Angela Davis on its list of the 10 most wanted fugitives.
Why did you run?
I didn't have a choice. All of my comrades and friends and I were aware of the ways in which people who were trying to turn themselves into the police had been killed.
The FBI caught up with her at a hotel in Manhattan. She was put at times in solitary confinement, while around the world, protesters called for her release. Then she was extradited to California.
Miss Davis entered the courtroom, turned and gave a Black Power salute to the gallery.
Davis was charged with conspiracy, kidnapping, and murder. She faced the death penalty.
Outside, there were 1,000 of Miss Davis supporters shouting, "Free Angela." They've pledged to be here as long as she's in court.
The moment was a long time coming. The jury had deliberated for 13 hours.
An all-white jury delivered its verdict on June 4th, 1972.
The tension was electric, waiting for the clerk to read the verdicts. The first charge was murder, not guilty.
She was acquitted on all counts.
It was not until that moment that I realized that I had a future ahead of me.
I would simply like to thank all of you who struggled so long and so hard for my freedom.
Davis set off on a tour of the U.S. as well as the Eastern Bloc in Soviet Union.
Bring greetings from the Communist Party to the Soviet people.
She would leave the party 20 years later.
When I left the Communist Party, I made it very clear that although I may no longer be a communist with a capital C, I remain a communist with a small c. Historical experiments don't necessarily produce what we want them to.
The 16 months in jail before her acquittal had given Davis a new commitment.
I have come to think about my incarceration as a gift, witnessing the ways in which other women in prison were being treated. That really consolidated what I think has been my vocation.
She has since dedicated her life to the issue of prisons, not reforming them, but abolishing them.
There are words like defund or abolish. At the same time that they elevate a cause, they also create such division. Why not advocate for reform?
Well, I've really tried to learn from history. So if someone made the argument that abolition is too strong a term, I would remind people that during the era of slavery, there were those who made the very same argument.
The United States has 4% of the world's population, but 20% of the world's prisoners. 38% of the U.S. prison population is Black.
What does a world post-prison look like?
My question would be, what would a world have to look like in order not to require the persistent interventions of police and imprisonment? We need better education. We would need a better healthcare system. We would need a better world. So abolition urges us to expand and make more capacious our very vision.
Angela Davis is still writing, still teaching. After 50 years of fighting the same fights, it may seem the more things change, the more the causes remain the same. But Angela Davis is still energized and optimistic.
There are so many issues that you fought against that seem current, and you were fighting against them 50 years ago. How do you not lose hope?
No change is possible without hope. No movement is possible without hope.
We have to march on with the unshakable confidence that we will win our fight for a new society, our fight for a society where freedom, justice, equality, abundance, dignity, and happiness belongs to all.